Call this meeting to order with a roll call. So Brianna, could you do that for us?
Chair Meyer,
I'm here.
Vice Chair Case. Here. Commissioner Whitefield. Here. Commissioner Caldwell. Here. Commissioner Walt. Commissioner Schutte. Here. A quorum is present.
Thank you. Okay, the first thing we have here on our agenda is public comment. This is a time where you can come up and talk to us about anything that is not agendized. To let you know that the commission is not going to be in any dialogue with you. We're just here for that public comment. We'll have public comment for you can comment at the beginning of the meeting for 3 minutes. There's really nothing on the agenda that we're going to be discussing or passing, but if there's something that comes up and you want to talk after that, you can, and at the end of the meeting also. So with that, I will start any public comment. And then also down here, you'd sign in, hit the button, make sure the light's on so you could be recorded. Sound good? All right. Is there anybody out there that want to talk? Come on up.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Tonight I may be beating a dead horse, but I hope not. I'm hoping that Parks and Recreation, while they are not open space, should still, I believe, be conscious of this habitats that they've created by their structure, and those that have moved in and those that will have to move out, changing those structures. I'm talking about the roads planned through Mills Park, but also fungicides, pesticides, herbicides, and other treatments that we have to use on parks because of the choices of plants and such that we've picked. I think the time that these things are used, whether it's a season for trimming or whether it's the season for shooting down insect repellents and such, we need to be more conscientious. And I really feel that it would be nice to have such on the agenda that we are, and not just doing it, but letting the public know what you are doing and when you're doing it and what your considerations are. Thank you on that. And the next thing is, I just really am concerned that we're not utilizing the fine education of Miss Boyer, and also new to the deal, Miss Lovejoy. They have a ton of information, and I don't know that they're really putting that through to the parks as much as they might, and also through open space. But as this is not a meeting for that, I appreciate it. But I do appreciate you as board members, commission members, to the time that you put in. I was just at a meeting for the local emergency response group, and all of the different departments had individuals there that are working to find ways that in circumstances that are other than what we'd like to see, they're ready to do things we're not even expecting. They are really deeply involved with the care and protection of this community, and I'd just like to give a shout out for the efforts they put in, and also anybody that sits up and has to keep up with things. This has not been a big agenda for me to go through. I thank you for that, but thank you all for your efforts.
Thank you for your comments. Welcome. Oh, be a mom. It's all good.
All right. My name is Sarah Leonard. I've been living in Carson for about a year and a half, and I've been in Nevada for 10 plus years. I'm here to talk about the new master plan for the park, for Mills Park. I think most of it looks amazing, but one of my favorite things to do is to walk with my dog and my daughter and not feel like there's any traffic. It's quiet, it's beautiful and green, and I'm a little bit worried about the road that's going to be going through. I'm worried that it's going to bring in cars and it's going to kind of interrupt the nice feel that you get of nature and quiet. And I also worry about events like Bonanza with kids crossing the road. Um, so I'm not super into that part, but I love everything else that you guys are doing. So I just wanted to oppose the road that you're going to be building through. And that's all I had. Short and sweet.
Yes, hello. My name is Michael Plansky. I'm a licensed landscape architect, and together with Will McKissick behind me, we are the designer builders who envisioned and built Carson Ridge and put in. Oh, by the way, thank you all commissioners for the opportunity to speak. As this is one of the first times we've been able to get our voice heard, and that's what I'm going to get to briefly. But we requested to share a video of showing the vision of what we prepared, but not sure if we're going to be able to share that tonight because it backs up what we have to say. But we've put in collectively over 12,000 hours into building Carson Ridge and recruiting an army of volunteers that have put thousands of hours more into it. And we seem to have no voice with Carson City Parks and Recreation, and no voice with the Foundation for Carson City Parks. We want to plan for the Land Water Conservation Fund 5-year review that's coming in 1 year. And the Carson City Parks needs the help of the people who designed, built, and envisioned Carson Ridge. But we're looking to get a seat at the table, both at the foundation and Carson City Parks, but we haven't been able to. Over the years too, I've applied for jobs for parks maintenance and park ranger in Carson City because we kept hearing that the city doesn't have enough staff, enough resources. I'm hyper qualified for those jobs. I've never even been acknowledged that I applied for those jobs. That's a concern of mine. And we applied for membership with Foundation for Carson City Parks and Rec as a company. Our company, Disc Golf Landscape Architecture, sent a check for $100 to join the foundation. So in the hopes that we could finally get audience of the full 9 board member of the foundation. For 6 years, we've wanted audience with the foundation board, and we've never been invited despite asking over and over again. So that's what I wanted to say. If Will McKissick would like to speak now.
Yes, thank you all for giving this moment to be able to speak and have a voice for a second after. Again, my name's Will McKissick, and last time I was here, I was moving here, but then I got a job to coach a fall season sport, and so I've been off doing that. Now I'm adjusting to get my roots back down here. So anyway, we did win a championship that I was involved with, so that was good. So yeah, I mean, I really apologize that I have to even speak this way and talk to you guys. And please, really, do me the favor and really listen. You know, we came into this whole thing with the correct balance and vision of truly wanting to have just people with the right reasons to help. And people were stumbling over because of what we did to create this volunteer base to help Carson City grow this volunteer base so it's unbelievably large, so it can help and it can do this. And what's happened is that because there's been some flies in the ointment, which after doing this, being out there in 105-degree weather with smoke, breathing it in and out, like I can say this, but are you really going to listen and understand what that would be like to have 6,000 hours while psychologically dealing with, because you all know that in society, there's angry people and strange people that come out. You know what I mean? They just do. It's part of the world. And we've had to deal with this psychology like craziness while we stay true to our hearts, absolutely true to our hearts, and have never wavered. And anybody that says any different, that's a lie. That is an absolute lie. Put them in the same room with us. Let's have a discussion, and they will look silly, absolutely look silly, because there's a fly in the ointment that kind of, you know, how angry people attract other angry people. And so we've had to deal with that through this whole thing. And there was a group that tried to take us over with that while being angry and trying to, meanwhile, we're trying to keep our base and these volunteers happy that love to help us and love it. And they have the right spirit in what we're trying to do and they see it. And that's the majority. The majority sees what we're doing. They don't want anything for their efforts. And then you have a group that's like, well, what do we get from this? And that's, we are just, you know, forgive me, we're fed up. We're fed up and we're not getting a voice. People aren't reaching out and helping us. And so we're done. Either the board's gonna reach out to us or we're gonna reach out to the media. We feel no other option, that we've been put in a corner. Thank you.
At this time, is there anybody else out there in the audience that would like to speak to us on a non-agendized item? Okay, seeing no volunteers for that, what we're going to do is move along with the agenda. The next thing we have here on the agenda is for action, approval of the minutes. So I'm looking up here at the commission and I'm asking if you guys all read the minutes and if you have any corrections or anything we want to look at. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Meyer. On page 5, I have a paragraph here that says, Mr. Wentworth responded about construction on the new pickleball courts for the summer of 2025. I'm hoping that was a typo or I misheard that because we were hoping for next year. Does that need correcting, Director?
Thank you. Jennifer Budge, Parks and Rec Director. I think it's 2024.
Thank you.
Does anybody see anything else after reading through those minutes? All right. So with that, I'd entertain a motion. With that one,
Second.
and Lisa seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, right on. So we'll move on to the next item. What we have here next is, it gives me great pleasure to call back our former cohort up here, Leanne, to come up here and talk to us about the Lone Mountain Cemetery. A lot of you might understand, might not understand that the Carson City Parks and Recreation Open Space also runs the Lone Mountain Cemetery. And Leanne is out there working there now. She used to be up here with all of us, and now she's out there, and we asked her last meeting to come and give us the lowdown on Lone Mountain. So welcome.
Thank you. It's kind of strange to be on this side of the table, but for the record, Leanne Keever, Lone Mountain Cemetery. Last meeting, you asked to do a brief history on the Lone Mountain Cemetery, and I have to thank you. It was fascinating, it was interesting, it was fun. And I did bring some show and tell here, and we'll get to that. So, let me see. Well, if we could get this started. Dave's right behind me. Dave's gonna come help. Yay, Dave.
So, let's see, where's the enter button? Oh, yeah, enter the started. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, we test drove this.
Just
There we go.
There you go. No,
There.
now it works.
Okay, all right. Thank you guys so much, appreciate it. Going to start off with a little trivia. And we discovered that the word cemetery came from the Greek word for sleeping place, and it means a land for burials. And then we discovered that there's a difference between a graveyard and a cemetery. A graveyard has a church either on the grounds or immediately adjacent. So that means Lone Mountain is really a cemetery since we don't have a church anywhere near. And then, did you know that cemeteries were America's first parks? They were. In 1831, the cemeteries started being developed as we know them now. And these lush green acres were just a place where people could come and not only pay respect to their loved ones, but they could picnic, they could barbecue, they could play football, they could do whatever. So it was kind of combining two into one. And ever since that time, we've just developed cemeteries to where we are now. And then this is the last bit I find interesting. In Nevada counties with a population of less than 55,000, a person can have a cemetery on his or her land. So, Carson, we're a little over that though, so. And we found a picture of people picnicking at a cemetery. And I know back east, a lot of the bigger cemeteries will sell tickets and they will have events like teas in the cemetery or tours. And we're talking cemeteries that are hundreds, if not thousands of acres. So, and then cemeteries are important to society because they help us look to the past while looking to the future, and they allow us to grieve, they allow us to make end-of-life decisions, and they, most importantly, allow us to preserve the memories of our loved ones and to share those memories with others who might be visiting the cemetery. And they are also important historically because they're living history, and historians in the future can go, and by reading the headstones, they go, oh, or you're laughing at me, Kirk. Yeah, yeah. It's quite, you know, and this is kind of detailed, so I'll let you read it yourself, but again, they're very important to us historically and to families who are doing genealogical studies. Now, the Lone Mountain Cemetery operates under the NRS, the Nevada Administrative Code, and the Carson City Municipal Code. The State Board of Funeral Examiners is the body that oversees the funeral industry in Nevada, and that includes funeral homes, cemeteries, and crematories. This is the 1950 version of the handbook that the State Funeral Board handed out to help all people in the funeral industry comply with the laws. This is the 2023 edition. You can see there's quite a difference. The industry has grown in complexity and has kept abreast with technology. Oops. And in the very beginning, we had a number of active cemeteries in Carson City. We had the Pioneer Cemetery, which is at the end of 5th Street. But towards the middle of the 1860s, 1870s, a number of those individuals were disinterred and they were transferred to other cemeteries in the area. Then there was Lone Mountain Cemetery. However, at that time, it was known either as the Wright or the Armitage County Cemetery. We have the Empire Cemetery out on Deer Run Road. We have the Nevada State Prison Cemetery, which is behind the old prison on 5th Street. There's the original Indian School Cemetery. And because of grave robbing, the tribe has asked us not to disclose that location. There's the Ormsby County Poor Farm out at Fuji. And then there is the Winnie Family Cemetery in what is now Silver Oaks. And I cannot find out what happened to that cemetery. The State Funeral Board doesn't have any records because it was a private one. So we don't know if they were disinterred or if there's a house. We don't know. Yeah, yeah. So if anybody out there knows, if you could let us know, we'd really appreciate it. Now, this is a little background on our cemetery. It's just on 40-plus acres in North Carson City. And I have a picture later that shows how sparse the population was in 1940. And there's only one mountain, which is at the north end of the cemetery, and that's why it's called Lone Mountain, because there's no other mountains around. We can date the oldest burial back to the 1860s. And so the cemetery has been an integral part of Carson City since that time. And until about 1959, there were 7 distinct cemeteries, and they were all owned by private individuals, mortuaries, fraternal organizations, and the like. They were just happened to all be together. And in 1959, the voters of Carson City voted the Ormsby County Cemetery District into existence. And that ran for approximately 10 years until Ormsby County was dissolved and the municipality of Carson City was created. And at that time, all 7 of the cemeteries were consolidated into one. And here are the 4 active cemeteries we still have in Carson City. We have the Lone Mountain Cemetery, we have Walton Cemetery, there's the Nevada State Prison Cemetery, and there is the New Sturt Indian Cemetery on Clear Creek Drive. Now, this is the photo I was talking about. The one photo shows the cemetery in 1944, and you can see how sparsely it was populated. And there was also a pond to the north of the cemetery that was called Steinheimer Springs. And people used to go fishing there. And at one time, the cemetery was considering entering into an agreement and piping the water from the springs and using it to irrigate the cemetery. I don't know what happened. I can't find any trace of that. Then if you look at the other picture, you can see how much it's grown. Carson has grown up around the cemetery. And this is one of the earliest photographs we could find. It was taken in 1891. And it shows they were relocating some soldiers from Fort Churchill and reinterring them in our cemetery. So at least we have a photo of that event, which is pretty special. Yeah. And then this is an aerial view of the cemetery, well, taken from Lone Mountain in 1890. And this is, we tried to approximate that view again, and you can see we've got some trees and such in there now. And we have a great staff at Lone Mountain. They are dedicated to serving the people of Carson City and the surrounding communities. The guys perform their duties efficiently, and they have such compassion, and they really show their commitment to the veterans when we have a veteran service. And they look forward to the improvements in and the growth of the Lone Mountain Cemetery. And while I don't want to embarrass him, I will tell you that the cemetery coordinator is here in the audience, but he asked for anonymity. So anyway, he's here. And I just wanted to give a shout out to him and Joe and Dylan. They do a fabulous job, and they are so good with the families. And then we have some stone gates at the entrances to the cemetery. And these were built by a Native American stonemason, Randall Wanganema. And his father was recruited by the superintendent of the Sturt Indian School to come teach stonemasonry, and that's how Randall ended up here. And then if you go straight down these gates and turn to the left, Mr. Snyder's grave is there. So, things tie together. This is a mystery. We are not sure what it is, if anybody knows. Is it a hitching post? Is it a fence post? Is it decorative? Nobody knows. And this is my typewriter. I didn't know we do have modern computer equipment, but the typewriter is used once a year to update the plot maps. The paper is way big, and doing it on the computer is just not feasible. Yeah. Next time we fire it up, you want to come see? Okay, we'll let you know. All right, we can do that. And then this is some of the equipment that the guys use out in the field to dig the graves and maintain the property. They do much more than just dig the graves. They keep the trees trimmed, they rake the leaves, they remove cactus. They keep busy and they keep the cemetery looking nice at all times. Now, at the cemetery, we mandate the use of crypts and urn vaults. And every so often, we get a delivery of the crypts. And we mandate these because if you look at the two pictures in the lower, you can see how the graves are sinking in because they didn't have a crypt. So crypts are required for caskets. And then if somebody is being cremated and having an urn, we use what's called an urn vault, and that is this right here. And that does the same as a crypt, only on a smaller scale. It prevents the ground from sliding, it protects the contents, and it makes the transfer easier. You're eyeing that, Kurt. Like, yeah. And then vandalism is a problem that all the cemeteries face, and Lone Mountain has had two pretty well-known examples of vandalism. One was in 1997 when the Clayton Crypt was invaded and the skulls of Mr. and Mrs. Clayton were taken for religious purposes. Fortunately, they were found, they were returned, and the city sealed the crypt permanently. And because of that, we no longer allow mausoleums on the grounds. Then in the early 60s, the cemetery used to use dynamite to dig graves. And it was stored rather loosely, I guess, in a shed, is what I gather. And teenage boys broke in and they took the dynamite up Kings Canyon. And for that little jaunt, they ended up serving time in Elko, which, remember, that used to be if you're not good, you're going to go to Elko. But since 1997, vandalism has decreased, and for three factors that we believe. It's the fencing and the set hours of operation, it's the patrols by the park rangers, and community involvement. Now, we have a wide assortment of headstones in the cemeteries. Some are wood, some are metal, some are stone, and some are temporary. And they're important because they tell the person's story and they help the family share their memories. Now, we do have temporary markers. The mortuaries used to provide these, and they no longer do. It appears that they discontinued it about in the 90s. And what some of the families would do if they could not afford a permanent headstone, they would take the temporary marker and they would set it in cement, and that became the headstone for the individual. And a lot of our markers and headstones and coping, they need some TLC. However, they're historic and they're fragile, so the staff's reluctant to repair them or reseat them, or, and it's a shame, so. And the Lone Mountain Cemetery is a vibrant part of Carson City due to the community involvement. People participate in tours, they come for the flag placements on the national holidays, and they also come for Wreaths Across America. Plus, they participate in this annual cemetery cleanings. And a lot of the families who have family members buried in Lone Mountain, they take care of not only their family plots, but the surrounding plots as well. And they're not shy if they need to call the park rangers or the sheriff's office. They will be on the phone in no time. And here are some pictures from some of our community involvement. We've got flag putting out, cleaning, the ghost tour, Wreaths Across America, and then down in the lower left-hand corner is a family who has come in and they repaired their family graves and they cleaned the surrounding graves as well. This is fun. In 1960, the budget for the Lone Mountain Cemetery was $12,000. In FY24, the budget was $201,215,000. 1960, there was one staff member. 2023, there are 3 park staff who work not only at the cemetery, but at the other parks throughout the city. And there's one part-time office staff, me. Now, this is why we are so adamant about keeping records. We had a strong, vibrant community of Chinese in the 1880s. And the Chinese cemetery was privately owned, and it was over on the west side on what used to be Moody Street. It's now Sturt Street. Apparently, the owner forgot to pay property taxes. The property was sold. There were no records. So in the early 2000s, when somebody was building there, they were surprised when they uncovered 6 individuals. They had no inkling those individuals were there. And everybody tried to identify them, but there was a distinct lack of records both at the cemetery office and elsewhere. So unfortunately, we weren't able to identify these people, and they were sent down to UNLV to be studied. And it's our understanding that once the studies are over, that they would be sent back to us for to be reinterred somewhere at the cemetery. And I don't know the status on that. I apologize. But they know they were Chinese because of the way they were buried. They were buried north to south, where the Western tradition is east to west. And we have a lot of notables buried in our cemetery. And Mrs. Rabb, she is a member of the Schultz family, you know, the Schultz Ranch development south of town. She was born out there in 1884. She had 13 brothers and sisters, and she lived on the ranch her whole life. We have Henry Yarrington, and he used to make loans to people, and shortly before he died, he forgave all those loans by destroying all the loan documents. So that's why I put him as a philanthropist. Okay. We have the Gonai family, the Budai family, and the Parks and Recs office sits on Budai Way. Kind of a little connection there. Frederick Snyder. Robert Laxalt, one of the giants of American literature. Abe Curry, our founding father. John Kuntz, father of the state archives. And the Dangberg Ferris families. The Dangbergs were very influential in Douglas County, and the Ferris family, you can thank them for the Ferris wheel. And then we have Lester Groth, who was our first paid fire chief here in town. And then we have some more notables. We have a lot of notables. And I think maybe we ought to do a little book or something on everybody who's buried in the cemetery. This is my favorite. These are the moonshine monuments. These are monuments that are out of cast zinc or white brass. They're hollow, and they had little rosettes on the side, and the side panels would come off, and they were totally hollow on the inside. So during Prohibition, the moonshiners would use that as their distribution point, shall we say. They'd put their product in, put the sides back up, the customers would come in, they'd take what they want, leave their money, put the side back. And this is the only example of these monuments being used this way that we've been able to find. They've all been sealed, so they can no longer be used for no more moonshine, no more commerce. But I just found that fascinating. And this is the west side of the cemetery. There are a number of individuals buried there, but the wooden headstones were destroyed in a fire, and even with records, it's difficult to know who's buried there. So we don't allow any burials in that area. These are some pictures of around Lone Mountain. Just as I'm out and about, I take them. And we are looking towards the future because there is an increase in population that the city is going to have to plan when considering the expansion of the cemetery. And I've got a chart showing the number of deaths in Carson, and we roughly average 900 deaths a year in Carson. And when we're planning the expansion, both the city planners and the staff are going to have to take into account state laws and Carson City's policy and reconcile those with the needs and wants of the families, plus the trend in technology in grave marking, if you will. There are biodegradable caskets and urns. They're seeded urns. Those are urns that have seeds in them. And when they're planted in the ground, either a tree will grow up or wildflowers, something like that. There's green cremation. There's digital enhancements to the headstones. You can have a video show in a headstone powered by solar. Some of the headstones allow for extra cremation urns to be placed in them. And some even have digital guest books, kind of like an iPad where a guest can come and sign in and say, I visited. So these are things that we're going to all have to take into account. And this is where we got all our information and our photographs. And that's it. If anybody has any questions.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, I loved this report, and
Oh,
it was
thank
so
you.
interesting. And, you know, a couple of things. In leadership, I went through the leadership program, and in 2014, we did the placards for the notable, for several of the notable people buried there, and Jenny Clemens, for example. And so it was wonderful, and there's so much history. I have to speak to the staff at Lone Mountain Cemetery. You know, my mom, my dad, and my brother are buried there, and just nothing but professionalism and kindness and respect. And so, just as a lifelong Carson City-ite, you know, this is, yeah, it was just, it's a wonderful cemetery. But I so appreciate the background and the history, because cemeteries, you do learn about people who have lived here before, and it's a way to remember and a way to celebrate. So thank you for the time that you put into this.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
As far as the space that's, how much space is left there, and how long do you think we can go with using the space there as far as the deaths per year and so
We
forth?
just opened up a new section on the east side. And I know we have some property to the north, but I'm not quite sure when that's going to be developed. Okay. I can
Okay,
certainly.
no, that's fine. I
I
was
can
just
certainly
curious.
get you that information.
When you brought that,
No, we have some plots here, there. We have a number of plots. I think we're probably good for about maybe 4 or 5 years before we have to seriously be worried.
okay.
Buy now and save.
And I wasn't, you made me smile when you were talking about the history and so forth,
Mm.
because before the meeting, we were chatting about the exact same thing.
Ah,
So it was, and you brought it up. So how many visitors do you think you get out there a day?
quite a few.
So pretty popular.
I know when I leave in the afternoon, there's usually 10 to 15 cars. There's a lot. And the people in the local businesses around, they come take their breaks in the cemetery. They take laps. They say it's safe, it's interesting. Exactly.
That's about all I have. And wait, this is an enterprise account, is that correct? And so when you say that the budget is 212,000, you're able to make that up and with it, without any supplement? Is that correct, Jen?
I'll jump in there. Yeah, Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. So the budget that Leanne talked about, the 200,000, that's all from user fees. You know, people paying for our services, and it's 100% cost recovery, which is required as an enterprise fund. So we used to be subsidized by the general fund by more than $100,000 every year. We've restructured the fees and our services, and we've expanded the staff, and we're able to cover that cost. And then anything above and beyond that, we're reinvesting into the facility as well. So we've done irrigation improvements, fence and road work, replaced backhoes and equipment, and anything to support the team that we need out there. And we're really reinvesting into the cemetery.
All right, thank you for that information. With that, I'm going to move over here to my left. Do you have anything?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Leanne. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I chuckled at the 4 or 5 years left before we seriously have to worry. My first Parks and Rec Committee meeting back in like 2018, 2019, when I was appointed, we were going over the budget, and it was talking about the cemetery, the Lone Mountain Cemetery, and talking about the budget there. And I did suggest, well, why don't we have like a buy it now and save, so that way as we're running out of space. And I think at the time I was told, oh, we probably won't run out of space. So, and
Yeah.
also it's really difficult to make a tiered pricing system.
It is, and perhaps in the future, one thing we might consider is we have a number of reserve spaces. I know cemeteries across the country reach out if there's been no activity or interest in a reserve space for, say, 5, 10, 15 years, and they ask if the owner would like to sell back to the cemetery. So that might be an option in the future as well.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear there are some solutions out there. And then my only other question had to do with the brochure that you handed out. So during the presentation, there was a part where you mentioned that mausoleums are no longer allowed, but the brochure says mausoleum properties and talks about the internment.
They're, okay, they would be allowed,
Oh.
but there are so many requirements that most people would just go, no. You know, we want to make sure it's secure and that it cannot be broken into. We want to make sure that it looks good and it blends in with the rest of the cemetery. But first and foremost would be the security, because we would want the residents to be able to lie in peace and, you know, and their family members not to lie awake worrying, is somebody going to break in and take them?
I do have one additional question, if that's okay. Are you getting any requests for some of these, I guess, newer to our population burial types, like the hydrolyzing alkaliasis? I think I said that right, or seed pods, or
The
you know,
seed pods,
dirt burials.
we are receiving a lot of interest in the seed pods. And unfortunately, since we mandate the use of the urn vaults, that negates them. So.
We can't do it.
We can't do it. What we're kind of suggesting to people is, why don't you maybe start the seed pod, if it's a tree or something, and then bring it out and we'll plant it with the memorial trees. And you can have a little plaque, and, you know, that way you still can utilize the seed pod and still abide by our rules and regulations.
Thank you. That's good to know.
Thanks, Leanne. That was a very interesting presentation.
Thank you, Dave.
This is more on my mind than it was perhaps 10 or 20 years ago, so. Are you planning on offering like a buy one, get one free?
I don't think we're going to do a BOGO. And we do not offer senior discounts, and we do not have coupons,
Oh,
sadly.
darn. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, thank you for all the research you did in the
Pleasure.
presentation. It was very interesting.
Well, I just want to thank you for a very informative presentation. I took a tour there a while back, and people in costume were talking at different grave sites. Whoops, sorry. And and I just really recommend that. That's a really fun thing. Do you do those very often?
No, but we could, no? Maybe, Jen, we could have like a summer or a spring tour?
Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. Our park rangers have been doing a lot of interpretive talks. I know Nick Wentworth, that's our projects manager, used to work at the cemetery, is really passionate about the history there. He's done a few interpretive talks, and we work with other local nonprofits that lead organized guidance and history on the cemetery. So we're happy to host those.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for
Thank you.
your presentation.
Thank you
And
for
we're going to
asking.
miss you up here, so.
Thank you.
With that, we're going to move on to 5B. This is also for discussion only. We're going to have a presentation by Duncan Golf Management. Duncan Golf Management runs the Eagle Valley East and West course.
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
I apologize. Ben Johnson, Senior Deputy District Attorney for the record. Did you take public comment on that last?
Oh, I apologize. I did not.
I
Okay.
don't know if anyone does have public comment, but just.
Does
in
anybody want to
fairness.
talk about the cemetery? I apologize, and thank you for bringing that up. I was thinking that it was a non-action item, so anyway. Looks like Denny's going to come and talk to us, so.
I'm sorry. Do I sign in again?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay,
Got to push the button, though.
got it. Thank you. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable, moving a little freer. I appreciate the fact that we had this opportunity to hear the history and such. I often enjoy the cemetery as a place to relax and just meditate in a way. But I also had a question. You haven't had to evict anybody for not paying their fees, or is that all covered? I mean, seriously, how does that work? You pay a flat fee and that's for death, not instead of for life? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I make one comment? There was a question about the future and the build out of the cemetery. I just wanted to point out that we're going to be doing a master plan like we would in any other park and really evaluate how much space we have and our opportunities for burial locations. We can do a lot of above ground stuff. So we'll be bringing that to you in the next year.
Is there any other comment that has to do with the cemetery? Yes, Dave.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. For the record, that's Dave Navarro, Parks Operations Superintendent. I think Nate left the building, but maybe he can hear this. But I just wanted to give a shout out to Nate and his staff. They do a tremendous job out there, and not only was just the overall maintenance of the cemetery, but just the tasks that they have to do. And when they are performing like the burials and the services, it's hard, and it's a hard time for like the families, and these guys are very like professional, and they do a tremendous job, and with a lot of respect and a lot of care. The things that they have to do at times, they have to move things around, and when they are done what they have to do, they put that place back, and you can't even tell that they've been there. And that just goes to like Nate and his leadership that he is providing out there. So I just wanted to take the time to say thank you to Nate. I hope he heard that. I hope he's still around, but if not, I'll make sure that he gets that. So thank you.
Thank you, Dave. So no other discussion about the cemetery. So like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to Duncan Golf Management. Give us a summary for the two golf courses, the East and the West course out on John D. Winter Centennial Park. In 21, the city extended a license agreement through 27 with Duncan Golf Management for operation and management of the course. What they're going to talk about today is an overview of their operations, and some issues in any capital needs that they'll need going forward. So with that, welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me back again this year. Scott Wachowski, Vice President, Duncan Golf. Have TJ Duncan in the audience here as well. I drew the short stick again, so I'll be doing the presentation tonight along with Dave as we get going here. So we're going to talk a little bit about 2023, briefly about 2022, and then what 2024 kind of looks like. So we'll jump right into it. I'm sure a lot of you remember this feeling last year. This was December 10th. I think it was the 9th, 10th. And that really kind of abruptly ended our 2020 season. We typically don't have this weather till late January, so that was an early shutdown. And it just continued all winter. They would say 10% chance, and that was 50%. And they said 50%, it was 90%. And they said 90%, it was 120%. And it kept going day after day after day. So we were closed a total of 72 days in 2023. And the golf season in northern Nevada, especially Carson City, has not really seen that in most recent years, and certainly not since we've been running the golf course. Typically, there's about 2 weeks closed. You get open for 2 weeks, you're 2 weeks closed. So this was a long, extended closure, which makes it difficult for a seasonal operation. So the year in review, like I said, it was a slow start, but the golf course really battled back strong once we got opened. It was pretty fast and furious. I'll go through that a little bit in the golf update. We got opened March 13th. I think we had 4 golfers that first day. It was very wet, cold, but we felt an obligation to get open for our season pass holders that had purchased their passes in December the previous year, in January and February, with the anticipation to get open. So we forced an opening early. Not a lot of people out there. Being a seasonal operation, the ramp up was very difficult for staff. We typically hire staff in February, train in March to be ready to go in April and May for the season to start. Having such a late start of the season we're really an operation that needs the customer to operate. When there's snow on the ground, there is literally nothing going on at the golf course. We have some merchandise sales, but no one's really coming out to the golf course. So a little bit of a challenge, but we had a lot of returners, and we really feel like by the time we got to the end of the season, we had one of our strongest staffs since we've been there. The winter definitely took its toll on the golf course condition. I'll talk a little bit about that later in the presentation when we get to the golf course maintenance portion, and was one of our biggest struggles that we really haven't had at Eagle Valley since we've been there, but it was quite the challenge. Overall, in the first quarter, we were down about $200,000 in revenue, which is about 10% of our overall revenue budget, and that was a little nerve-wracking because you don't know what the rest of the year is going to look like. So that was a very slow start. A lot of nerves going on early on, because not only were we closed here, we were closed at other golf courses as well. So, but we didn't make a full recovery, but we got pretty darn close, and the projections are pretty good to finish the year. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll talk about capital. I'll have Dave kind of talk about the city's portion of that. And then we're going to have a little bit of an addition to our plan. We were really focused on bunker renovation, but really feel it's important to start investing into some golf course irrigation. So the golf, like I said, we opened up 3/13, very soft opening. The golf course was really wet, and we were really surprised by the amount of groundwater. We really haven't had a winter. We started at the end of 2017 and our full year 18. We had very dry winters every year since we've been here, so this was really a very, very wet winter, and it was wet out there really till about the middle of May, but and didn't get out of the 40s. Really the whole month of March. So it was a slow start. Once we hit April, it was like a light switch went off, and we had record rounds from April every single month all the way through September. So it was fast and furious. If Eagle Valley was a movie, it'd be Fast and Furious. It kind of came like gangbusters. You know, the folks that got putters and drivers for Christmas, they couldn't hit them for a few months. So when they got the opportunity, they flooded the golf course. So it was fantastic. We made an investment last year to purchase a new range machine. That had immediate impact that we were able to, when the golf shop was closed, that people could still come purchase range balls after hours and hit balls on the range. And we're going to make a presentation later here to even improve that and move the range machine actually out to that. The range machine is where people come, and it's a dispensary where they get range balls instead of having to come into the golf shop, wait in line, get range balls, and then go out. It's just a really quick self-service machine. Anyways, was really impactful to the operation. For the first time in our operations there, we had 100% returning staff in our key positions in golf, and it really was dramatic that we had really seamless operations in golf for the first time. And we have Jason France out there that heads our golf department. We're going to kind of expand his role. He's done a fantastic job. Still with us. Outside of being a Dallas Cowboy fan, really great guy. And then turnaround. So it's our 6th season. Year over year, we build loyalty through outside tournament rounds, guests that come to town, as well as local charities and things of that sort. So that has grown. We had our record season with golf tournament rounds. Along with Golf 50 Mile Club, this is a club that was there prior to us being there. We felt important to keep it going. It is really a local program that a lot of residents that aren't members and pass holders at the club from Reno, Dayton, and the surrounding communities really utilize this. And this is kind of a staggering number, 72 days closed, and to be able to come close to the 2022 sales was really phenomenal. So it's a strong program. We'll continue it in 2024, and just a really healthy program for the club. So I'm going to jump to food and beverage. While the golf was closed, actually the closure kind of helped our food and beverage overall financial performance. During the off season and the cooler months, the food and beverage is not nearly as utilized as the warmer months. So being closed, it kind of helped not having all the overhead, the cost of product to have on board. We offer food and beverage, full food and beverage services, even though the golf course isn't open every day and or fully utilized. We may have 4 golfers, but we have full food and beverage operations. And you can imagine running a restaurant with no customers is not very profitable. So all things considered, we did have a lot of returning staff in food and beverage, and our strongest team to date, and they had a phenomenal year. And through September, we were about $20,000 ahead, which doesn't sound like a huge number, but in our margins in food and beverage, that's a huge accomplishment, and they're probably going to end up having their best year since we've been at Eagle Valley. We're working on the 4th of July, but I got some word that that may not happen, so I'm going to just stay brief on that, and we'll update that when it comes. Golf course maintenance. Wanted to spend a little time on this. Definitely our toughest spring to date since we've been there. Like I said, hey, we got started in March. We had Dave out there actually a couple times saying, where is all this water coming from? There was so much groundwater, and it just kept coming and coming and coming. As soon as that kind of dried up, then it got really dry. We never really got warm. So we had significant issues on our greens on the west course, to a point of where we had to close the golf course, do an emergency aerification, seeding, and that continued for pretty much almost every entire day of May. We were doing something to the greens to bring them back. Thankfully, I remember driving around mid-July just kind of pinching myself like, how did these things come fully back? We made a full recovery by mid-season, and probably the best conditions that we've had since we've been there. So it was really good. Now, we got a little lucky. We had a cooler May than usual. We had a cooler June than usual. We had a cooler July than usual. And we also had some moisture, which we typically don't have either. So Mother Nature blessed us with some of that. So in a combination of some things we were doing on the golf course and blessed weather, the golf course made a full recovery. And again, not only in golf do we have what we believe is our strongest team ever, in food and beverage and in maintenance, we definitely feel like we are hit the jackpot with the team that we have out there. A little bit more about the golf course. You know, it's kind of confusing when we got started. It was so wet for so long that we weren't really turning on the irrigation until much later than we typically would. By the time we turned it on, some of it you didn't even know we had until things kind of dried up, and then we realized, hey, that's not the flooding anymore. This is irrigation issues. We had significant issues on some pump stations in the west course that really didn't get fully repaired till probably the end of June. Good timing before the heat really came on, but it was a lot. We had significant failures on the west course irrigation controls, which we're going to hope to make a significant investment this next year to improve that. The East Course had its ups and downs as we got going, but really by the time we got into the golf season, had made a pretty big full recovery. The biggest thing on the golf course in 2022, when we renewed the lease, we finally got to put some capital dollars into the property. We started a bunker renovation project. Having the late start, we didn't do any capital last year on the golf course because of, one, the late start of it being able to access the golf course to get any capital projects done. And by that time, the golf course is full, it's going crazy, and we had to get the golf course in shape for the season. So we have a pretty good plan for 2024, and we'll start the phase 2 of the bunker project then. Sales and marketing, we haven't done a lot different at Eagle Valley, and a slide later in this presentation will show our growth and revenue. It's kind of one of those things, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Now, we edit our marketing a little bit, but we've really kind of kept on the same strategy, and we added one small addition of this Frisky Fridays that I felt obligated to bring up. It was a really fun thing at Eagle Valley. People loved it. We had probably about 50 people come out. It's a 9-hole event. It's really a hit and giggle. It's as much golf as it is socialization and just getting out there with friends. We play in 8-somes rather than 4-somes, and it's a blast. We had about 50 attendees, all the way up to about, I think our highest one was 108, where we had to open up both sides of the golf course, and it was awesome. Jason out there implemented a new thing. They go out, they play 9 holes, and then determine the champion. We do a putt off on the putting green. We have lights around the putting green that we never really turn on, but we did this year on Friday night. So it was Friday night under the lights, and they're putting for the championship for the Frisky Friday. So it was awesome. We have a drink sponsor every year. This year it was White Claw. So we look forward to continue that next year, and it was really just a fun way for people to start the weekend. This is just our TV just a couple data points there, nothing really to talk about, kind of where we were at. We continue to put Eagle Valley in all of our media campaigns and television, and we both say the capital city golf course, Eagle Valley. Capital equipment, this is something that we, this whole agreement and Duncan Golf Management, when we presented to come in and propose to do Eagle Valley, our main focus with the city was we want to have a sustainable golf venture and business for years to come. Well, we figured out very early on that there was next to no golf course maintenance equipment in the facility in 2017. I think there was one working triplex, which that's not a lot for a 36-hole facility. So we created an agreement to say, hey, we're going to build up the golf course maintenance fleet, and we're proud to we're finally getting there. We have our first lease ended in March 23. We've now signed on another lease. This is some of the key pieces of equipment that have come in that the golf course has not had for quite a few years. We finally got an aerifier that we can start doing some things that we have been needed to do, but haven't had the equipment. Got a new top dresser. The biggest piece of equipment that we got that's going to really be a bit of a game changer for the club is an actual tractor and a backhoe. We have mainline brakes. They've all been hand dug, and/or we have to go rent. So we have to wait for the rental company to bring that there. The time that does that, and then take it back. So a real big addition to the fleet. And then by hopefully here in the next couple weeks, we'll get our 2 more rough units. And at that point in time, we will have secured close to $800,000 worth of maintenance equipment that will be owned by the city when we leave. So it's really fantastic, and we're proud of that accomplishment. We that's what we said we're going to do. We're doing it, and it's great for Eagle Valley and sustainability. Like I said, we have completed 11 bunkers on the West Course. That was phase 1. We're going to start phase 2 this spring. Since the infusion of capital, we've completed over $50,000 in pump station repairs. That, unfortunately, is not over. These aren't very noticeable to the customer, but they're necessary, and when we took it over, not a lot of pump station upkeep, so that's kind of taken its toll. So we do have quite a bit more to do on the West Course next year, and that's in the plan. So our plan for 2024 is Hidden Valley Golf Course in Reno is going through a major irrigation renovation. We've been in contact with them and have an opportunity to purchase a lot of their satellites they're getting rid of, which will be a huge upgrade for the West Course. So we're going to invest in those satellites. Phase 2 of the bunker project will happen. We need to do some pump work. And then we are going to propose to Jan and her team about doing a driving range upgrade with a building, the range machine out there, all new range mats, some signage, and just really a bunch of lipstick on that driving range to see if we can make it a much better experience. Part of our agreement was that we were taking 10% of the net revenue or net income of the facility and reinvest it into the property capital. And part of that was that Carson City was going to match that. When we started talking about all the projects, the loudest thing at Eagle Valley is certainly the bunkers. The second loudest thing is the cart path. So Duncan Golf Management is focusing on the bunkers, and Carson City is focusing on the cart path. And I'll kind of maybe let you talk about what phase 2 looks like on the cart path.
Yeah, so again, like for the record, this is Dave Navarro, Parks Operations, like superintendent. So phase 1 for us and our contribution to Eagle Valley, the golf courses like repairs is the cart pass. As you can see in the red was phase 1, and that and it's approximately 2,500 like linear feet of cart path that we replaced in, I want to say it's like the fall of 22 as well. I think it's right around there. What you see in yellow is what we are proposing to do this coming probably spring. It's all going to depend on if we can get the contractor in during that time, and then also work with let's Duncan Golf Management as well, so we can work around maybe some of the bigger tournaments. But what you see in yellow is approximately 2,700 like linear feet of golf cart path replacement that will be taking place like this next year. And we did also have some damage from this past like year from the like storms. We had like Scott said like earlier, there was water coming from everywhere. We had a large amount of water come down from the mountain, like above, and there are a couple of cart path areas that we replaced that were damaged, and so those are going to be like replaced again, and we'll fix those, and we'll probably have to look at maybe making some, maybe like some, let's see, drainage renovations when we're doing those as well. So, but this is kind of just give you an idea of where we are, and this will be phase 2 will be in the yellow, and I have a overall like projection to I think complete like the west course in about like 7 years, and then we'll move on like to the east course after that.
Cart paths don't seem like a big thing, but it's a bumpy ride out there without a smooth ride in between. So it is pretty dramatic. When we did those improvements in '22, it was instantly recognized by the customer, and it was a very big impact. And when we took the target areas, greens and tees, this is kind of really expanding that. So once we get to this next one, we'll really feel like we're getting somewhere. The first one was, it seemed large to us, but small to everybody else. Once we do this next one, it's gonna feel like a lot. So we're excited to get that done this next year. Overall financials, we've had steady growth and pretty remarkable growth. Our first year here, we were just under $1.5 million, and now we're getting close to $2.5 million, which is phenomenal growth. When you keep in mind that we have not raised rates 1 penny since we've been there. We have held true to what we said in the beginning, that this needs to be a city or a golf course for the city residents, and it needs to be affordable. So we've been able to do that. We're proud of that. We have increased volume. Like I said, food and beverage is doing really good. So we're super proud of this. When we did this projection and we had to do this presentation a few weeks back, pretty confident that we're going to match 2022 numbers, which was our record year with 72 days of closure. Is really phenomenal, and we're excited about where Eagle Valley is going. If we would have had that 72 days, we would have another record year. So we're darn close and proud of it. So in conclusion, despite the slow year or the slow start of the year, we made a really big comeback during the season. It was really busy. We feel like we have one of our strongest teams there to date. We're going to do our best to kind of hang on to them through this winter. And then, our whole goal of Eagle Valley was to have a sustainable, not only golf course, but business that Carson City could be proud of. And at the end of the day, whether we're there or not, it will be a sustainable operation for whoever will operate it. And that's all I had. I'll open up if anyone has any questions or comments.
Thank you very much. Wonderful presentation. I'll do the same thing, and I'll start over here with Lisa and move down.
Perfect. Thank
Go
you.
ahead,
Thank
Lisa.
you for the presentation. One thing that came to mind regarding the golf or the cart paths, I would imagine there's a huge impact on the life of the carts when the paths are smooth, or does that make a difference?
But we have a strategic plan with that. We operate on 4-year leases for our carts, so we replace the carts every 4 years. What the impact is really the maintenance on the carts.
Right, okay.
So we didn't do enough of the cart paths to really see that impact. We still have quite a few expenditures that happen that we're responsible to maintain the carts, and it's important that we maintain the carts. Do that. When we took over in 2017, the club only had 23 working golf carts. So now we have 130 that are new every 4 years.
Okay, thank you. During this year, did you have to deal with supply chain issues, or had that been
That's the
resolved by
main
then?
problem with the maintenance equipment.
Okay.
We have now had maintenance equipment on order for 18 plus months, and I'm sure you're dealing with that too. So yes, but for the majority of the supply chain issues, really merchandise is much better. Food and beverage much better. The only thing that's really lagging behind is the turf equipment.
The turf, okay. Well, kudos on your returning employees. That
Yeah, it was
speaks
fantastic.
volumes.
Thank you.
And I am super excited about that Friday
Get out there, it's fun.
scramble, because I'm a terrible golfer, but I have friends who are very good. And so I'm lining them up.
And it's a real lighthearted event. It is really hit and giggle. It's a scramble, and you play against another foursome. It's a blast.
Well, looking forward to it. So
Awesome.
thank you.
I don't have any questions either. I hope my spouse is not watching tonight because I cannot afford for him to be involved in any of these Frisky Friday events. So thank you very much for that presentation and kudos. Was there any thought to putting in a water feature with all of that groundwater that came up?
No, we had plenty of those to deal with, so no more water features.
Thanks for your presentation. That was pretty interesting. Curiosity question, your cart's electric or gas?
Gas,
Gas. Okay. Cool.
which was great when gas prices were.
Yeah, yeah. Well, impressive performance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have no questions, but congratulations on all that you've accomplished.
Thank you very much.
So with that, is there any public out there that would like to entertain any questions to us or even to Duncan Golf? Come on up, Denny.
Denny French, Carson City. Thank you, Chair and Commission. Relating to Mr. Whitefield's question, is there any intention of trading over after those 4 years into electric carts? And if so, has that been in the considerations at all? Also, as far as issues for the all year round, I have several suggestions that I'd like to be able to put in there. If we can find a location to do a virtual course and other putting and driving court. They have them in places, and I think if you expand it into something that through the parks, if you can find a building that would rent to you and that you could facilitate it, I think that'd be a great way to help facilitate trainers that, like, they go to the pickleball and they train and help other people, and it would bring in trainers through all year, and they would be able to do the virtual aspects of it, the filming of the drives and the swing and all that as well. So that's just a consideration, but as far as electric carts, are those in considerations?
Each and every time we come to a renewal, we consider both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Is there anybody else out there that would like? Mr. Swift. You know we're talking about the white ball, right? Not the disc.
Thank you, Kurt. Yes. My name's Greg Swift, and I'm speaking just as a resident and a local golfer who I was actually out on the West Course this afternoon, and it was absolutely swamped. There was carts on. I can't believe how many people. It was a great afternoon weather-wise in December, but just want to tell you, I think almost all the golfers recognize, it was a weird weather year, but we do appreciate the bunker improvement. As far as cart paths, I'm really happy to hear you're going to be working on those, because I think the main problem there is not inconvenience, but the areas that are damaged off to either side.
Yeah, people go.
Yeah, that's where you get most of the other damage. But in general, as a local resident, just really happy to have 36 holes out there that were in really good shape this year. So,
Awesome, great to hear.
except for the puddle, the pond on number
I
one
know.
on the west, which
I know.
was in the middle of the fairway, but that again was due to weather. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments, Greg. Dave.
Greg, thanks for the comments. Just want to suggest you might have picked a better word than swamped.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe how many people were out there today, though.
Oh, it was gorgeous today.
Yeah, it was.
I think everyone knows what tomorrow's going to be like, so everyone's getting out
Yeah.
It's
today.
December.
Well, it's going to feel like December tomorrow. It didn't today, but it's going to tomorrow.
Okay, with that, so any comments out there in the public? Oh, yeah, Jen, go ahead, Jen.
Thank you, Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. I just wanted to thank Scott and TJ for having just all your hard work. You guys are amazing. You've really turned this course around. When I first got here, it was a little scary, and you guys are really invested in not only like with improvements, but with staff and with a lot of heart. And I think it's a great public-private partnership. The city would not be able to operate this facility for the public at the low cost that they're able to do it with the resources we have. So it's a really great partnership, and I appreciate it so much.
Great, we appreciate you.
Thank you, Jen. So,
Kirk, can I just one more thing?
oh,
Sorry.
of course
Sorry.
you can, Dave.
um,
I was just going to ask if anybody wanted to.
Dave Navarro, Parks Operations, like Superintendent. I just wanted to add that we have in our agreement, like with Duncan Golf Management, is to do like a scorecard, and that we have to. So I'm in the middle of doing that like scorecard right now. I've been out to the course. I've taken pictures. I've walked. I've driven all over, and you know, it's not complete yet. But when it is complete, it's going to go to like the mayor, and so you can see it. But everything so far, you know, there has been improvements, like from the last time. And so I just wanted to let everybody know that, you know, we are, you know, working with them. We are making sure that they're doing what they said that they're going to do, and then also working like with us as well. I can tell you that the bunkers look 100% better than when I did the scorecard in 2021. It was like the fall of like 21. And just to see the pictures I have now from then is just 100% like turnaround on that. They've like all of them have been edged, and we still have some like large rocks in like some, but overall minimal standing water, and that was a big complaint. And then also they were just they weren't like being maintained 100% like turnaround. And then there's some other stuff in there that also, like Scott said, this was a tough year to do, you know, not only like for golf course like maintenance, for any type of turf maintenance. And those guys did a tremendous job this year managing all that. So
Thank you, David.
thanks to your staff.
Thank you for those comments, Dave. So with that, is there anybody else in the room, up here, down there, over here, that want to talk about golf? Yes, sir, come on up. And I believe your name Will, correct?
Yes, Will.
Go ahead, Will.
Yes. There. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I think it was Dan that was, or was it Danny, or, I'm sorry, the gentleman with the hat? Denny. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that what a tool to have in your toolbox to have a virtual building. So waiting for tee times, or if it gets rained out, or, you know, utilize that. I just think that that's a no-brainer to help you, like to facilitate and keep people's, like all of a sudden it starts to rain, or let's say it's flooded in some areas, you know that maybe it just needs a little bit more time to dry out, and now they can play virtual golf, you know, if you could do that. I just thought that, I liked that idea to have that in your toolbox. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so anybody else want to talk about golf or have any questions about Eagle Valley East or West that we can get answered for you? All right, seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation. Everything went great, very good presentation. So the next item on our agenda is 5C, and what we're going to talk about, Jennifer's going to take this over, is the meeting scheduled for next year in 2024. So with that, I'm going to throw the ball over to Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. You have a draft schedule for review and any comment proposed for next year. The Board of Supervisors, you know, encourages us to try to have joint meetings where possible with the Open Space Advisory Committee. We try to schedule two this year, 2 every year. Obviously, this year we had so much, especially open space business to handle, so we had some separate meetings. So we will try to get back with them again in June next year if we can, and looking at that schedule. But if you have any questions, let me know.
So has Open Space looked at this?
Open space will meet in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So they'll review that and approve
Okay.
that.
So with that, everybody has that schedule in front of them. What do we think about the schedule? And if we like it, can I hear a motion to move down the road with that?
I would move to approve the proposed schedule as recommended by staff.
A second, and with that, do I need public comment on this? I'm sorry. So
After
Denny,
every
come on up and,
But we first have to vote.
do you want me to vote or do you want me to let Denny talk? Okay, thank you, Ben. Danny, do you have the information as far as the schedule goes? Okay, but do you want to see the schedule as far as the schedule?
I hadn't had a chance to look at the schedule, that's correct, and I'm not sure I was able to find it when I was going over the information on
It was posted with a staff report.
That's what I thought, yeah.
that then was my miss. Thank you very much.
Would you like to say anything else?
If I had any say, I would like to have in consideration, a consideration to discussion of the artificial turf and the fact that it's still an ongoing battle between the fors and the not fors. And as much as I know I have my biases, I'm looking at as clearly and open-mindedly as possible, and I can't find very much in favor, except for the fact that a lot of people are making a lot of money off the product right now. But I did a search to try to find which cities and states were actually banning the items, and it was very hard to find a concise list. I could pick through and pick this state or this city or whatever, but I couldn't find a straight list. But I did find an interesting list of ballparks, and very few of them gone to artificial turf at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danny. I apologize for that. I really didn't think anybody out there wanted to talk about our schedule, so I apologize. And with that, I had a motion and a second. So everybody in favor of the 2024 Parks and Rec Commission meeting schedule, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so there you go, Jennifer. So what we have next here is staff updates for discussion only. And with that, the first thing is 6A, the director's report. So that's over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. We're going to have a Wreaths Across America at Lone Mountain Cemetery on December 16th at 9 o'clock in the morning. If you go to Wreaths Across America, you just Google that. You can purchase a wreath if you would like for either the local cemetery or any other cemetery across the nation at 9 a.m. So they host at the same time as the event at Arlington National Cemetery. So with the it's at noon at Arlington National Cemetery, so with the time change, it's 9 o'clock here locally. But you can sign up on that website either to purchase a wreath or you can sign up to volunteer. So it's a great event if you haven't been to that before. We did have a couple staff leave, and I just wanted to wish them well. Tyler Curver, our park ranger, and then Chelsea Kinchelo, our volunteer coordinator, both are going to the state of Nevada. Wish them well on that. So we have been recruiting for both of those positions. We do have a new volunteer coordinator starting in January, Erin Larson. We're excited to have her. And then I know we're interviewing for the park rangers coming up very soon. So wish them well. We will miss them. They did a lot of wonderful things while they were here. So, but that's about it right now. Any other questions for me?
More curiosity than anything. You said wreaths across some, yeah. I had read an article the last time, I guess it was Memorial Day last year. Apparently Jewish families have a problem with a wreath because wreaths are a Christian symbol. And so I was wondering if when we do it in our cemetery here, do we have any consideration for the Jewish people that are buried there?
That's a wonderful question. I come from a Jewish family. I can find out about that. I hadn't heard that at the Hebrew Cemetery in Reno. They do put up flags typically and
Yeah.
not wreaths, but I can look into that and make sure that we're being considerate
Yeah,
of
the only
that.
reason I know is I'm a member of the DAR and they do it. And the issue came up at one of the DAR functions and I don't have a dog in that fight. I just thought I'd raise the issue.
I will find out and I can
Okay.
report back to you.
All right,
Good
thank you.
question.
Mm.
The school board, do you know anything that's going on at the school level that, with you in the Parks Department since Molly was not able to make the meeting tonight, Jennifer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. I did speak to Commissioner Walt earlier today, and she didn't have anything that she wanted me to pass on for you. We are meeting with the school board superintendent to continue our talks about cooperation at Park Terrace Park. So I'll probably have something more to report to you in February about that project.
Okay, thank you. The next here is an update for the Foundation for Carson City Parks and Recreation Liaison. I understand, Dave, do you have anything? Were you at that meeting? Do you know if there's anything that you'd like to report to the commission or get on record?
Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. I wasn't able to attend the last meeting, but I did want to mention that we are partnering with the foundation on our youth scholarship program that we've been fundraising for a few years now. There's now enough funding for at least 3 years of the program, which is great. So we're going to be rolling that out anytime now, which is really amazing. So I did want to thank the foundation for all their support and helping us with fundraisers and holding the funds. But if anyone wants to contribute to that, definitely go through the Parks Foundation and we'll continue to grow that.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. So moving on, up here, do we have any future agenda items that we'd like to hear? So I'm going to start over here and go this way. Oh, I'm sorry? Oh, member report, did I miss that? Well, I should have thrown it in there. Us, I was following the recipe, I apologize. Up here, member reports. Dave, what would you like to talk about?
Would you like to guess?
No.
Oh. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to talk a little bit about our Fall Dinks and Drinks tournament. This event was held on the 17th through the 19th of November, and I want to mention that it was co-sponsored by Parks and Rec Department and the FCCPR, the foundation, and really appreciate their support in doing that. Thanks to Director Budge, to Dan Arp, and to Scott Chapman and the whole MAC staff. They did a great job supporting this tournament. We had an amazing turnout, which just about swamped us. Yeah. We also had some support from Costco. They gave us a nice gift card for snacks, which was neat. And Sky Fiber Internet supplied the Wi-Fi, even if they didn't know about it. But I think they did. We had a great turnout. Our spring event had 136 players, and this time we had 237 players, so we added over 100 participants, which was fantastic. 133 women, 113 men. We held 21 events. We played over 450 matches across the 2 days and a few hours on Friday night. We awarded over 120 medals. Our youngest player was 12 years old, who happened to win 2 silver medals, which was pretty cool. And our oldest player was 88. So we had really good representation from the whole community. And it was a great event. I think everybody had fun. We've had really good feedback on it. City made some money on the liquor sales, I think. And I don't think we had anybody falling down drunk. We just had people enjoying themselves and enjoying playing pickleball and having a few drinks. We had 225 players from Nevada, 17 represented from California, 1 from Idaho, 1 from Hawaii, and 2 from Washington. which was pretty cool. We ran this tournament along with staff. We had 14 volunteers, and I'm roughly approximating about 250 volunteer hours during the 3 days of the tournament, and probably over 200 additional hours to set it up, register people, deal with all that, and plan the event. Our spring event is currently scheduled for the 17th to the 20th of April, and we're hoping to attract between 300 and 400 players. And we're going to try to market out of area a little bit and see if we can't draw in some people to spend some nights in the local hotels and spend some money. So it's a growing event. We're really proud of our volunteers for making it happen and for the support of the department in making this happen. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year, and I won't go into the financials, but we did really well this year. So that money is all going to be dedicated to improving the existing courts down at Mills Park. So thank you, Jen and staff.
Thank you for that report, and sorry for overlooking that. Any more comments from?
My term of office is expiring this year, and I must confess, much as I loved working with you all, I can't face another 4-year term. It's just, I'm 83 years old. I may not even live that long at this rate, but.
You look wonderful.
Well, thank you. But I wish you all well. I think the work that we've done this year has been really great, and I appreciate the support for the renovation of the tennis courts. And don't forget, 2025, Centennial Courts get done too. So, and I won't be here well, I may come. I may take Denny and his place for a while till the tennis courts get tennis taken care of. But it really has been a pleasure, and I wish you all Godspeed. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time spent on the board. It was very nice to meet you and work with you. So.
Thank you.
Now, do you have anything as a commissioner that would you like to talk about?
No.
No, okay.
Oh, wait, I do as a commissioner. One thing. I did text Jen about this, but the new park facilities that went in at Blackwell Pond, I have gotten so many texts from other moms who take their kids there, and I've sent a few down to Jen just thanking you guys for the work you did installing that new playground. It's fantastic. The kids love it. My 3-year-old, she's now 3, loves it. She's out there climbing today, and then had a nice 45-minute nap on the walk home. So thank you all for the work you did there. Appreciate it.
Lisa?
Yes. I just want to celebrate Parks, Rec, and Open Space with our trails. And you really just talk about community for a minute. Yesterday I was out riding my mountain bike and was over, I rode to Riverview Park and around there, and then across, and it was near Silver Saddle Ranch, and then over on the way to Mexican Dam when I had the misfortune of running over a goat head and got a flat, and which is a bummer. And yet I met the most delightful people. And so a shout out to a gentleman named Mike, who, while I had a tube and everything to change a tire, to my great embarrassment, I didn't have any air. And so Mike stopped and he had the air. And then there was another gal, Louise, who, while I was walking my bike because I had no air, we just had a wonderful conversation, and she actually does outreach with veterans and PTSD, and so the people you meet while recreating are just lovely people, and that's what the interconnectivity really is all about, and the opportunity to ride bikes or to walk or to run. I saw several mountain bikers out there, people walking their dogs, an adaptive bike, lots of horse hooves. And so again, it just reiterates the good work that Carson City is doing in terms of trails. And so a kudos and a thank you.
Thank you for that. I agree with all those sentiments for sure. So beautiful, beautiful trails we have and a good reason to get outside. So with that, what is next on the list here is any future agenda items that the commission might want to see coming up next year in February. Okay, with that, oh, sure, go ahead.
I do have a quick question that comes out of the public comment. Is it possible to review the pesticide, herbicide, pest control, noxious weed control that we do in our park system and just get an understanding of what that looks like?
Yeah, we could definitely talk about that. We have what we call an integrated pest management plan, and we could probably present that at a future meeting. We will have the budget coming up in February, so that's lengthy. So maybe we'll find the best spot to fit that in.
Yeah, if you could send me that plan early, I'd like to. I like some light reading before bed. Nothing like an integrated pest management plan.
It's fascinating, let me tell you. But we are, we recognize we're Obesity USA and we try to be cognizant of that. But it's a combination of different methods, basically, is our approach. So whether it's hand removal or, but sometimes we do have to, utilize chemicals when needed. And then there is NRS 555, which is noxious weeds. So by law, we're required to have a plan and treat those types of. So
well,
we can
I'm
bring
a
that.
one-person goat head warrior. Anytime I see one, I pull out my little trowel and I just dig it up because I hate them with a passion. You need a trowel. You can dig them up yourself and take them home.
But
throw
we
'em away.
will bring that to you in the spring.
Okay, so moving forward, what we're going to go is with public comment. And then we had public comment at the beginning of our meeting. And we also have a time now for public comment on anything that was not agendized. And with that, I'm going to talk to my partner next door that wants to take her commissioner hat off and have some public comment. So you got 3 minutes. No, you're fine sitting there.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee, for offering me the time to give public comment tonight. My name is Leah Case. Mills Park is in my ward, and I have a 3-year-old. I'm disappointed in the decision to put the lane, the road back in to Mills Park master plan, and I know I brought this up several times. This whole body opposed the road when we sent the master plan to the city supervisors. My city supervisor seconded the motion to approve that plan. It passed unanimously with the road put back in. And then it was funded in September with, I think, $14.9 million to start the design and implementation of that plan. And if my time on this committee, if all I have to show for my time on this committee is a road through Mills Park, I think I might break down in tears. This is, I drove here tonight on Highway 50 on William Street to get here. There's this huge 4-lane road right next to the park, and putting one through the middle, I'm just so passionately against it. I've been thinking about this all year. I thought about it during the legislative session. I thought about it all summer. I can't see any benefit to the road through Mills Park. And if the purpose is just to connect those 2 parking lots, I would just as soon get rid of the 2 parking lots to avoid confusion. I passionately oppose that road through Mills Park and really hope to make some headway on that. And I know a lot of work went into that, and I know that it went to the Board of Supervisors and that you all discussed it. I think there was a couple comments about it from folks, including my city supervisor, who said that they don't understand why there is such anger about a road through a park. And if you zoom out and look at Carson City, we are all roads, and one more road through the park is devastating to me. So I really hope we can find something else, some workaround, or maybe there's some extra public input that can go into that planning and development with the company that's going to put that together, and we can work something else out. It would devastate me that happened on my watch. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your public comment. Is there anybody else out there that would like to address the board with any public comment? Denny, come on up. You're welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Denny French, Carson. I don't know. I just have to say ditto to Chair Chase, Commissioner, um, and to you all for having made your statements and put your faith in the fact that you'd be listened to. And I feel sorry for that, that I don't believe you were listened to. You were heard, but not listened to. And that was a shame. And I just will feel sick to my stomach every time I walk through that park to think about a road through there. So this is very personal to me for the habitat, for the feel of it. I understand that we've had several opportunities to buy parking spaces and we let them go. We had several opportunities during planning of neighborhoods to let space go, and we are diminishing this park. I think that we added some great things and we still have the ability to do those things, and I look forward to those. But unless we look to alternative parking and we make our park into a parking lot, that would be a shame. I would like that added to the agenda possibilities. I also really am very heart-filled, worried about artificial turf, and I've done studying, looking, and searching for a good side of artificial turf, and only thing I can find is that the manufacturers are doing quite well, and the installers. But they're not there to deal with having to put it in a landfill, having the children exposed to those toxins. They're not the parents, perhaps, of those children or the players that are on it. They're getting hurt because of the situation. But if you look at lawsuits that are being brought up by NFL players, because they have money to do the lawsuits, how many of us would be able to have a lawsuit if our child starts to not breathe as well as he had before, or a child is exposed to a harder fall place or during a sport or injured? Many of us would have to turn to suing the city to get what they needed to help their children. So if you can't pick it out or take it off the deal and get it off of our plate, you can at least suggest that it could turn around and bite us in the butt in several different ways. And please consider the financial, if that's all. That part will be tremendous. And it's not a no-care item. It takes a lot of care to take care of an artificial turf. I worked at a golf course, and I know how much it took to take care of, live grass and how the different soils, everything affected everything. It does that to turf as well. And so the differential on equipment, you got to buy a vacuum cleaner. You have to have a washer system. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment, Denny. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on anything before we move? Will, come on up.
Yes, thank you. William McKissick. Yeah, I wanted to say that, because I did mention these people that were angry or whatever the dysfunction of these. I do want to say to you that I feel sorry for them. I don't feel I don't feel that way about people. I don't feel vindictive or whatever. But I do take that energy and use it to make myself stronger as a person, because that's what builds you basically, is suffering. That's how I see it. To build a human, you have to go through stuff. So, but I do want to say that, maybe to get you guys to listen, we need to bring the volunteers and fill up all these seats, because they will come. These volunteers will show up at a drop of a hat for us. We didn't ask for them to come because we only ask when we need them, because they have faith in us and trust in us. The amount of volunteers that we had for over a steady month, I was out there from sunrise to sunset, bringing these volunteers. I'd go through the first 3 hours or 4 hours with a group, and they can only take that much. And then I'd go through the next group, and then the guys with the trucks then would come, and I just did this for over a month with a smile on my face, knowing that these people, that's like, how do you get people to come out for a full month over and over and over again to follow you? Because they believe in what you're saying. They truly believe, and they see that you're not wasting their time. So to be on top of that, to keep on an average of 8 people, on the average of 8 people I had out there for over a month, and telling them like, we need to do this, move the materials there, and to stay on top of that and move around, it was incredible. And I don't want any praise. That's not what I want. I just would like some respect. And it seems like the city and the foundation, God bless the foundation, they seem to be doing great things, except when it comes to us. For some reason, we do know the reason. There's a fly in the ointment, and it's a disconnect. And for instance, the business that we're trying to create, to go out there to create more of a beautiful world out there, we donated over $3,000 to this tournament, and then the liaison that's supposed to tell them this, then they come and say, hey, you owe money for that sign that your name's on. And it's like, well, we've paid like thousands of dollars. That and this liaison said, I'll tell them. We've got it, no problem. And then all of a sudden now the foundation is saying, no, I can go on. I can go on and on and on. I mean, about the city and the amount of disrespect that we've gotten. And I mean, it's crazy. Shaming. If you guys knew the story, your minds would be blown. They totally would be blown. And like I said, if you're not going to listen, somebody will, and let their minds be blown by it. So please get in contact with us.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So Mike is coming up, so go.
Hello. Thank you again, commissioners, for your time. The tournament last year that the mayor spoke at and was a tremendous success was possible because of our vision and hundreds of hours of preparation, and it was heroic what Will described, what he did, and he's not saying that, like he said, to pump himself up. And personally, our business, Disc Golf Landscape Architecture, I struggled to make my bills, and $3,000 came out of my pocket to create the shirts. And hundreds of dollars in event support and planning and bringing the Pony Express out there, and prize money and creating beautiful crafted trophies. And the entry fees from the event went straight to the foundation to support it. And all we got after that event was criticism. All we've got since that event is criticism, no respect whatsoever. So I ask the commissioners, we would like, Carson Ridge Disc Golf Club would like to present in the February meeting. And before then, we would like a series of meetings to work with Carson City Parks Department to plan for the Land Water Conservation Fund 5-year review, because to leverage this resource we built could mean millions and millions of dollars for Carson City for not only disc golf, but trails connecting to the East Gate Recreation Depot area and the assortment of activities that are up there. And like Will said, we're 6 years behind in our voices being heard, and we'd just like to start our voices being heard now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Why, of course. Come on up, sir.
There we go. How's that? Good evening. For the record, Mike Raponi, and I'm a member of the Foundation for Carson City Parks and Recreation. And I don't have a long history with the disc golf club. I'm still relatively new to the foundation board, but I just want to report that the $100 membership fee that was reported in the public comments at the beginning of the meeting was indeed received, deposited, and recorded as deposited by our treasurer, Mayor Bagwell, on, I believe, around September 11th. Just to clarify for the record. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, is there anybody else out there that wants any public comment for the end of the meeting here? Okay, so with that, it looks like I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Second? Why, Lisa got her second in finally. With that, and everybody who wants to adjourn, say aye. All right, thank you.